Your life is the sum of your choices. But what if some of those choices weren't really yours at all? What if they were shaped, manipulated by the people you call friends? Think about it. The dreams you abandoned, the talents you never explored, the peace you keep chasing but never quite reach. Could it be that someone close to you is quietly holding the strings? Carl Jung, one of the most influential thinkers in psychology, believed that the people around us are not just companions, they are mirrors, magnifiers, triggers, and sometimes cages. He warned that certain types of friendships don't just stunt your growth, they can completely derail your destiny. They don't do it loudly, they do it quietly, through influence, through presence, through emotional contracts you didn't even know you signed. This isn't just about toxic friends, it goes deeper than that. Jung's work was about the unconscious, those hidden patterns that shape your life when you're not looking. And according to him, your friends can reflect your shadow more than your light. The truth is, the people you keep close have the power to either bring out your highest self or bury it. So in this video, we're going to uncover 5 types of friendships that Carl Jung would say are not just unhealthy, but dangerous to your potential. Not because they're evil, but because they pull you away from who you're meant to become. And as we move through each type, I want you to ask yourself, not with judgment, but with brutal honesty, is someone in my life destroying my potential without me even realizing it? Carl Jung believed that most people walk through life asleep, not because they want to, but because they've never been taught to look within. Instead, they look around. They absorb the behaviors, beliefs, and emotions of the people closest to them. And slowly, without knowing it, they become someone else. Someone smaller, someone safer, someone less threatening to the group. Jung called this the power of the unconscious collective. We don't just live in our own minds. We live in the psychic atmosphere of those around us. Their doubts become our doubts. Their emotional wounds infect our decisions. Their shadows leak into our identity. So when you think about your friends, ask yourself, are they helping you wake up? Or are they helping you stay asleep? Jung also spoke about something called projection, when we disown parts of ourselves and unconsciously place them onto others. It's how people who fear failure attract others who settle. It's how those who deny their strength attract people who dominate them. You don't just pick your friends at random. You're drawn to them, and they're drawn to you because of what you're unwilling to face in yourself. That's why friendships are never neutral. They're either revealing your truth or reinforcing your illusion. Think about that one friend who always jokes about how your dreams are too big, or the one who keeps dragging you into drama you don't want to be a part of, or the one who always says they miss the old you, even though the new you is trying to grow. Are these just harmless personalities, or are they signs of something deeper, something your unconscious is trying to warn you about? Jung said, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. And nowhere does this show up more powerfully than in the friends you choose. Let's go deeper now and meet the first type of friend Jung would have warned you about, because this one is the hardest to notice, the shadow enabler. This is the friend who never tells you the truth when it matters, the one who watches you spiral and hands you another drink, the one who says you're perfect the way you are, even when you're clearly hurting yourself. They validate everything that keeps you small and call it love. On the surface, they look supportive. They laugh with you, hype you up, even defend you when others express concern. But underneath it all, they're enabling your shadow, the hidden, repressed parts of you that sabotage your growth. Carl Jung described the shadow as the dark side of the psyche, the part of ourselves we're most ashamed of or unaware of. And here's the twist. The people who help us hide that side instead of integrating it are not helping us heal, they're helping us decay. Think about the friend who encourages you to skip responsibilities because you only live once. The one who says, it's not that deep, just ignore it, when you're finally trying to confront a hard truth. The one who romanticizes your recklessness and calls it authenticity. But deep down, ask yourself, are they really supporting you? Or are they just keeping you stuck because they're afraid of what your growth would mean for them? You see, when you start to evolve, it forces the people around you to make a choice, grow with you, or be left behind. The shadow enabler doesn't want to lose the version of you that makes them feel better about their own limitations. So they'll keep feeding your insecurities, encouraging your worst habits, and pretending it's empowerment. And the scariest part? Sometimes we don't want to let them go, because a part of us still clings to the comfort of being understood in our dysfunction. But comfort isn't the same as alignment. Jung said, people will do anything, no matter how absurd, to avoid facing their own souls. And this kind of friendship? It makes avoidance feel like home. So ask yourself, who in your life supports your survival but never your transformation? Because that person may not be your friend, they may be your anchor. Let's move on. The next type doesn't just hide your truth, they idolize the lie. This is the friend who only connects with the version of you that looks good, sounds polished, and fits their image of who you should be. Carl Jung called this external identity the persona, the mask we wear to survive in society. And that's exactly what this friend falls in love with, your mask. They compliment you when you're funny, agreeable, impressive. They celebrate you when you're in control, when your social media is on point, when you're doing what they expect of you. But the moment you show vulnerability, doubt, anger, depth, they pull back, or worse, they make you feel ashamed. Over time, without even realizing it, you start performing your life. You stop sharing your truth. You filter your emotions. You shape yourself into a palatable version just to keep their approval. Because you know, if the real you shows up, the friendship might not survive. Can you relate? Maybe it's that friend who only wants to hang out when you're upbeat. The one who says, you're being dramatic when you open up about your anxiety. Or the one who disappears the moment you stop being fun. It's not that they dislike you, they just like the version of you that's easy to digest, the safe version. But here's the problem, the real you was never meant to be safe. Jung believed that wholeness, not perfection, is the goal of life. And wholeness requires authenticity. It requires space for contradiction, for complexity, for shadow and light to coexist. A friend who only loves your light forces you to exile your shadow, and that, over time, leads to a quiet kind of death, the death of your potential. So ask yourself, who do you shrink for? Who do you perform for? And more importantly, why? Are they truly your friend, or are they just addicted to your image? Jung warned that people often confuse connection with control. And when someone only connects with your mask, they're not seeing you, they're managing you. The truth is, the more you grow, the less interested you become in being liked, and the more devoted you become to being real. But some friendships can't handle your truth, and others, they don't just reject it, they drain it. The energy leech is the kind of friend who doesn't shout, doesn't sabotage, and doesn't need to. Their presence alone siphons your mental, emotional, and even spiritual strength. And what makes it worse? It often disguises itself as intimacy. They come to you with their problems, again and again. They unload their stress, their fears, their stories of betrayal, failure, chaos. And you listen because you care. You try to help because you're loyal. You give your time, your energy, your empathy, until eventually there's nothing left for yourself. Carl Jung believed in the idea of psychic energy, the fuel that powers your thoughts, actions, and creativity. And when that energy is constantly being drained by someone else, you lose the capacity to build your life. You become so caught up in managing their emotions, you forget how to manage your own. It's like emotional gravity. No matter how high you try to rise, they pull you back into the heaviness of their world. You might know this friend, the one who calls you only to complain, never to ask how you're doing, the one who makes you feel guilty for having boundaries, the one who's always in a crisis, but somehow never moving forward. And no matter how much you give, it's never enough. But here's the real question. Why do you stay in that dynamic? Because sometimes being needed feels like being loved. Sometimes we confuse exhaustion for connection. And sometimes helping someone else avoid their healing journey gives us permission to avoid our own. Jung said, "People meet in the unconscious, not in the conscious." That means even if it looks like you're helping, you might be unconsciously participating in your own neglect. You weren't born to be someone's emotional dumping ground. You weren't born to carry another person's storm. And no matter how deep the bond feels, if the relationship leaves you chronically depleted, it's not love, it's erosion. So pause for a second and ask yourself, who do you always feel tired around? Who drains your clarity, your confidence, your joy? You don't need to hate them. You just need to stop leaking your energy into a black hole. But not every draining friend is obvious. Some of them wear smiles, some clap for you, and deep down, they want to be you. This is the silent competitor. They'll never openly admit it. They may not even be fully aware of it themselves. But beneath the surface of your friendship lies a quiet, constant tension. One that says, "I want what you have." Jung understood envy not just as a feeling, but as a psychic force, a projection of one's unrealized self onto someone else. The silent competitor is a friend who doesn't compete in public, but in their mind, your every win feels like their loss. It starts subtly. You share good news, and they downplay it. You land a job, and they remind you how stressful that industry is. You mention a personal breakthrough, and suddenly they're changing the subject or talking over you. They're not being mean, they're just shifting the energy. And you feel it, that tightness in your chest when you speak around them, that second guessing before you share your joy, that quiet voice in your head saying, "Maybe I should keep this to myself." Ask yourself, why do you feel the need to shrink your success around someone who claims to be your friend? The silent competitor is threatened by your evolution, not because you've done anything wrong, but because your growth exposes their stagnation. And rather than facing their own untapped potential, they begin to chip away at yours through passive comments, subtle withdrawal, and inconsistent support. Carl Jung believed that we attract people who mirror parts of ourselves we're not ready to confront. So here's a deeper truth. Sometimes we keep silent competitors around because we still haven't fully embraced our own greatness. We're not ready to stand tall in our power, so we stay close to those who keep us humble, not in the healthy way, but in the limiting way. And here's what makes it even more complicated. They might still care about you, they might have good memories with you, but caring is not the same as being safe, and shared history is not the same as shared vision. So, reflect honestly. Who seems happy for you, but only when you're not doing too well? Who disappears when you're rising, but reappears when you're down? A real friend isn't intimidated by your light. They stand beside it, not in its shadow. But what happens when the friend isn't hostile, competitive, or draining, but simply distracting you from your path? That one might be the hardest to leave. The fate distractor is the friend who's always down for a good time, always has a new plan, always pulling you into something spontaneous. And honestly, they make life feel exciting. With them, you forget your stress, you laugh more, you loosen up, but eventually you start to notice you're also falling behind. This is the friend who's always suggesting one more drink, even though you had plans to get up early. The one who convinces you to skip that workshop, that deadline, that hard conversation, because you can always do it tomorrow, but tomorrow keeps slipping further away. And your goals? They start to feel more like distant concepts than daily habits. Carl Jung believed that each of us has a deep inner calling, a unique path of individuation. And when you ignore that calling, not because of pain or fear, but because you're constantly entertained or distracted, you lose time. And time, once lost, doesn't return. That's the danger of the fate distractor. They don't come with red flags. They come with charm, shared memories, and easy chemistry. They may love you deeply, but their presence pulls you sideways instead of forward. Think about it. How many opportunities have you postponed because someone made the alternative seem more fun? How many times have you said, "I'll get back on track next week," only to realize 6 months passed? It's not just the obvious people who slow you down, it's often the ones who feel the most familiar. Now let's be honest, this doesn't mean you can't have fun or that every spontaneous friend is a problem. The key is balance, alignment. Are your closest friendships aligned with your purpose, or are they always pulling you off course? Jung warned that the world will ask you who you are, and if you don't know, it will tell you. And sometimes that message comes wrapped in the laughter and chaos of a friend who has no idea they're keeping you from your next level. So ask yourself, who makes you forget your purpose? Not out of harm, but out of habit. Because the longer you stay distracted, the harder it is to remember why you started. Now that we've explored these 5 types of friendships, what do you do about it? Do you cut them off? Do you confront them? Or do you do something even deeper? Something Jung would insist must come first. You start by looking within. Carl Jung's entire philosophy was rooted in the idea that we must make the unconscious conscious, that the people in your life are not random, they are reflections of your inner world. So before you blame, block, or break away, ask yourself, what part of me attracted them? What was I seeking? What was I avoiding? This isn't about guilt, it's about clarity. Maybe the shadow enabler stayed in your life because a part of you was afraid to grow. Maybe the persona mirror felt safe because you weren't ready to be seen. Maybe the energy leech filled a space where your own boundaries were never built. Maybe the silent competitor mirrored your own unresolved insecurities. And maybe the fate distractor distracted you because deep down, purpose felt terrifying. Here's the truth. Every friend that stays in your life without resistance is being allowed to stay. Which means real change doesn't start with distance. It starts with awareness. Jung called this process individuation, the journey of becoming your true, whole self. And part of that journey means being brutally honest about the environments you've accepted. It means creating space for friendships that challenge you, inspire you, and align with your evolution, not just your comfort. So what does breaking free look like? Sometimes it means having hard conversations, sometimes it means slowly detaching, and sometimes it simply means outgrowing the dynamic, silently, respectfully, and without apology. You don't have to fight anyone, you just have to choose yourself. And as you do, you'll notice something. The more you honor your path, the more your life begins to reshape itself. Certain people fall away, others rise to meet you, and the friendships that survive your growth, those are the ones rooted in truth, not projection. Jung once said, "Your vision will become clear only when you look into your heart. Who looks outside dreams. Who looks inside awakens." It's time to awaken, but before we close, there's one final question you need to sit with, one that could change the way you see every relationship moving forward. Who are you without their influence? Not the version of you that plays small to keep the peace. Not the version that stays stuck to protect someone else's comfort, but the real you. The one buried beneath years of compromise, habits shaped by others, and dreams you quietly shelved because someone convinced you they weren't realistic. Carl Jung believed that the path to becoming whole requires a shedding, a peeling away of all the layers that aren't truly yours. And some of those layers? They came from friendships that felt good, but fed your fear more than your future. You weren't born to fit into anyone's projection. You were born to become fully, fearlessly, and unapologetically yourself. So look at your life, look at your circle, ask yourself, who brings you peace, who brings you power, and who brings you problems that keep repeating? Because not every friend is meant to go with you. Some were only meant to show you what you needed to see, and once you've seen it, it's your job to choose differently. This isn't about cutting people off in anger, it's about reclaiming your direction with clarity. The most powerful shift you'll ever make isn't changing your environment, it's changing what you accept in that environment. So I'll leave you with this. You don't have to explain your evolution, you just have to live it. Quietly, boldly, fully. Because the right people, they won't just accept your potential, they'll protect it. And maybe that's the difference between a friend and a fragment of your past. Now, I want to hear from you. Who stood out the most in this video? Was it the shadow enabler, the silent competitor? Drop it in the comments, because that awareness alone is a step toward becoming who you were always meant to be. And if this spoke to you, don't keep it to yourself. Share it, because you never know who's trapped in the wrong circle, forgetting just how powerful they are. Until next time, protect your path. It's yours for a reason.